Welcome to latest news blast. For months the internet whispered about cracks behind Alicia Keys' radiant smile, the quiet tension that even a world-famous voice could not sing away. And today that whisper has turned into an emotional storm as the singer finally opened her heart to the world. Confessing why she keeps forgiving her husband again and again, she began softly, speaking not as the Grammy-winning artist adored for her strength, but as a woman exhausted by love, saying that forgiveness had never been her weakness, but her only way to survive. And as she spoke, her words trembled with truth that seemed to echo through every relationship ever held together by hope. Alicia described nights when the spotlight faded and she sat alone with questions louder than the crowd's applause, when betrayal hurt more because it came from the same hands that once held her through fear. And she admitted that love, for her, was not about perfection, but persistence, the belief that two flawed people could still build something sacred if they refused to give up. Her confession was not about fame or gossip, but about the fragile line between strength and surrender, and she told fans that forgiving her husband wasn't about pretending pain didn't exist, but about acknowledging that people break, heal, and sometimes break again before they learn how to love. Right. As she continued, the room seemed to breathe with her, every pause weighted with memories of rumors that had followed them since the beginning. The late-night photos, the speculations, the interviews where she smiled through questions she didn't want to answer. And she finally said that silence had never protected her heart, only delayed the healing. Her voice cracked when she admitted she once blamed herself for being too kind, too patient, too willing to rebuild what others might have burned. But now she sees forgiveness as a language of power, not weakness, because it takes strength to look at someone who hurt you and still choose peace over revenge. She spoke about her children, about wanting them to see love as something resilient, not disposable, saying she never wanted them to grow up believing that mistakes end relationships. She wanted them to know that love can stumble and still stand, that people can fail each other and still try. Fans flooded social media with heartbreak and admiration, calling her confession one of the most real moments in celebrity history. Because behind the glamour, Alicia Keys had spoken the language of millions who quietly forgive behind closed doors. She described how every performance, every award, every smile on stage sometimes hid a storm inside, and that forgiveness became her therapy, her rebellion against bitterness, her way of reclaiming control in a world that constantly judges women for staying. When asked why she didn't walk away, she said, "Leaving is easy, staying is work." And she had chosen work because she still believes in redemption. Her words painted a picture of love that's raw and imperfect, but deeply human, where healing doesn't happen once but again and again, and fans could feel the ache behind every syllable. She mentioned the hardest moment, the night she realized that love doesn't always protect you from pain, but sometimes gives you the courage to face it. And she said she learned that forgiving her husband was not about him anymore. It was about her peace, her sanity, her faith in something bigger than ego. Alicia admitted she once thought forgiveness meant losing dignity, but now she understands it means keeping your heart soft in a hard world. As tears filled her eyes, she said, "Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, it redefines it." And in that sentence, she turned what could have been scandal into healing. The confession resonated beyond music, beyond fame. People who had never met her felt seen, understood, because her story mirrored the quiet struggles of many who love too deeply. Yet there was no denial in her tone, no naive romanticism. She was painfully aware of the cracks, but also proud of the courage it takes to rebuild trust. As she spoke about her husband, she didn't name every mistake, but the way her voice softened carried both hurt and hope. Like a woman who knows love's cost yet still chooses to pay it. She said they had sought counseling, gone silent for days, fought, prayed, cried, and found that forgiveness wasn't a single moment but a series of choices. Social media exploded. Some praised her grace, others questioned her endurance. But Alicia stayed calm, saying she was done explaining her love to people who've never lived it. Her honesty disarmed even her critics, because instead of defending her marriage, she owned her emotions. She described waking up one morning realizing that anger had become heavier than love, and that letting go of resentment was her liberation. She talked about how fame magnifies every flaw, how forgiveness in private becomes judgment in public, and how she learned to separate her heart from headlines. In that moment, the world didn't see a celebrity. They saw a woman rediscovering her power. She told fans she's not perfect, neither is her husband, but they are both learning how to be better, not bitter, and that's what love is really about. She ended her confession by saying she hopes her story teaches others that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace, even when pain is louder. After her words went viral, celebrities, relationship experts, and fans worldwide praised her courage to speak openly about something so vulnerable. The clip trended everywhere, not because of gossip, but because of raw humanity. Alicia's tears were real, her tone humble, and her truth universal. As she closed, she whispered that she forgives, not because he deserves it, but because she deserves freedom. And those words broke hearts across continents. Many saw her confession as a new chapter, not an ending, not a surrender, but a quiet revolution of love. Even critics admitted that in an industry built on illusion, Alicia Keys had dared to show something authentic. That, behind the glitter, forgiveness is messy, beautiful, and brave. And as the lights dimmed after her confession, it felt like a prayer. Not for a perfect marriage, but for the courage to keep believing that love, even wounded, can still sing. After that emotional moment, Alicia Keys sat in silence for a few seconds. The kind of silence that says more than any sentence ever could. Reporters waited, fans held their breath, and the world leaned closer to the screen as she wiped her tears and said softly, "You can't keep loving someone unless you've learned how to forgive yourself first." That line hit millions like lightning. It wasn't just about her husband anymore. It was about her journey, her flaws, her guilt, and her own healing. She talked about how the world often celebrates strength but mocks softness, how forgiveness is seen as weakness when it's actually one of the most courageous things a heart can do. Alicia explained that when the rumors about her husband's mistakes first surfaced, her world didn't just shake, it shattered. Every part of her that believed love was supposed to protect you began questioning everything. But even in that pain, she said, there was a voice inside her whispering, "Don't lose your soul while trying to protect your pride." She confessed that some nights she'd stare at herself in the mirror, wondering if she had become the fool the internet called her. But she realized something profound. Forgiveness isn't for people who are weak, it's for people who are strong enough to choose peace over pain. Alicia said that walking away would have been easier, but she wasn't looking for easy anymore. She was looking for real. And real love, she said, comes with scars, comes with storms, and sometimes it comes with starting over again and again. She admitted that she once questioned whether her husband truly valued her heart, but in the quiet moments, when apologies turned into actions, when pain turned into lessons, she saw growth. "You don't measure love by how perfect someone is," she said softly. "You measure it by how much they're willing to change." The audience was spellbound. Even those who once judged her now listened in silence, realizing that maybe forgiveness is not about defending the other person, but about reclaiming your own peace. Alicia continued, revealing that therapy had become her safe place, a space where she and her husband could confront their flaws, their insecurities, and their pasts. She said she learned that forgiveness doesn't mean trust is automatic. It has to be rebuilt brick by brick. "We didn't just rebuild our marriage," she said. "We rebuilt our friendship, our faith, our purpose." She described how love after betrayal feels fragile, but also more honest, because once everything breaks, only truth remains. Then she spoke about motherhood, how her children taught her the real meaning of patience and grace. "I don't want my sons to grow up believing that love ends the moment someone makes a mistake," she said. "I want them to know that real love fights, forgives, and grows." Her voice trembled but never wavered, and in that moment, she looked less like a superstar and more like every woman who's ever tried to hold her family together while the world watched. Social media flooded with emotional reactions. Fans posted clips of her crying, quoting her words about forgiveness. Even celebrities shared her video, calling it the most honest moment of the year. But Alicia didn't post for sympathy.